Wow, I love the energy in here. I'm seeing people so intently take notes. I'm going to give a commencement speech to a bunch of 20-year-olds soon, and I hope that they have the level of intention that you all have, the level of focus you have. Thank you so much for having me here today. I want to start with gratitude because I know what it feels like to feel scared. And I know that for so many people, this moment in time can feel scary. I remember what it felt like to walk out of the hospital after my rape kit examination. I had never fully understood the definition of lonely fully until that moment. And now when I look at this crowd, I am not lonely anymore. It's a far cry from that moment 11 years ago when I felt so powerless. The first time that I walked into a rape crisis center, there weren't enough seats for us in the waiting room. And I had intellectually known how prevalent sexual violence was, but I didn't understand until I became a survivor myself. And if I was struggling so hard to save my own rape kit, and I had a Harvard law professor helping me, what was everybody else doing? And that's when I realized I had a choice. I could accept this injustice or rewrite the law, and one of these choices is a lot better than the other, so I rewrote it. I made another choice to set aside my astronaut dreams to fight for justice. I traded in my telescope for a pen and created Rise, a nonprofit that's led by survivors to fight for our rights. And in 6 grueling, thrilling, intense months, we passed the Survivors' Bill of Rights unanimously through Congress. When people ask me where I got the strength to take on the US government, I say my mom. My mom was a boat refugee, and she was caught in a tidal wave storm. Her boat was sinking. In the night, their salvation arrived. A bigger boat was coming, spotted them, and decided to save them. But because my mom's refugee boat was so small and sinking, they couldn't just drag her boat. So in the storm, the bigger boat threw over a rope, and all refugees had to climb this rope in this tidal wave storm. When my mom tells me this story, she says that these waves were like skyscrapers, and that if you were to let go of the rope, the sea would swallow you whole. And that the only way that she was able to climb that rope was not by thinking of the entire length of it, but just by thinking about the next pull and the next and the next. And this lesson in courage reminds me that you don't have to have bravery for the entire journey, just for the next step and the next and the next. And so when people ask me how I got the strength to take on the US government, I say, well, my mom went through all of that. What's emailing a senator? Last November was the 10th year anniversary of Rise. And over these 10 years, we've passed over 90 laws protecting 1.3 billion survivors from around the world. We work with survivors in their communities. So often they're people with little organizing training, no proximity to power, but we've taught rape survivors how to write laws and navigate the legislative process. Yes, we passed laws, but something else remarkable happened. Over 1 million people reached out after the first law passed and asked, hey, you don't typically look like what a lawmaker looks like. So if you can do it, maybe we can too. Can you teach us how? So to all those who reached out and asked me to teach them how to pass a law, I said, yes, absolutely. And so we at Rise set up a school for making change. We evolved to become America's first civil rights accelerator, like a Y Combinator for civil rights. And over the past 4 years, Our 22 teams have passed 21 laws working on a breadth of issues, from gun violence prevention to farmers' rights in Tennessee. I remember the first time that I shared my story. It was a lot of hours talking to politicians who did not care. I remember sitting and someone said to me, "I sympathize with what happened to you, but this isn't going to help me get reelected." And I was like, wow, honesty, so refreshing. I went home and I cried because that's the natural thing to do. And I was just like, I just need somebody to tell me that they love me. And the next morning, as a pathological optimist, I went back to the US Senate. And this time I was in an Uber, so the driver was this kind of stoic, intimidating guy, didn't really talk to me. But he saw that I was going to the Senate. So he asked me why, and I told him. And this once intimidating stranger started crying, just tears welling from his eyes. And he turned to me and he said, "My daughter was also raped. And what you went through, she also went through too." And when he stopped the car, he said, "Can I shake your hand? Thank you so much for fighting for my daughter. Has anyone told you that they love you today? I love you." And I'll never forget that, Dad. This is our story. It's a collective story of progress. And when we work on our communities, it's more than just the direct community that it impacts. Our courage radiates and rings out so much more than we can ever imagine. Astronauts ring a bell before boarding their spacecraft, and it's an adoption of the nautical tradition of ringing aboard sailors when they board a ship. When I rang my bell, I thought of my family, my uncle and my cousin who became sailors to learn how to navigate the sea, who used the stars to navigate their way to freedom. I thought of my mom and my aunt. She swam so I can fly, crossed the ocean so I can touch the sky. And she came on a boat, and now we're on spaceships. And I thought of her, that girl at Harvard, the girl I was before I was hurt, the girl I made a promise to, that I would not forget her dreams. So to the 1.3 billion survivors, I want you to know that we can heal, survive, and thrive. And if the law is unjust, we can rewrite it. We can honor the person that we were before we were hurt. Your dreams still matter. And no matter how outrageous they are, like flying to space, they can still come true. I remember what it felt like to feel lonely. But no one is powerless when we come together, and no one is invisible when we demand to be seen. So thank you so much for seeing me today.